Aloha, I'm Representative Cynthia Thielen, and today we have a very exciting day. I have a wonderful guest with me. You're going to learn a lot from him. His name is Michael Bowman, and Michael is a farmer from Colorado, and he farms hemp.
Great to be here today, Representative Thielen.
I'm so glad you're here, Michael. Maybe you could talk a little bit about hemp and why it's a good farm crop and what is going on with that in Colorado.
Well, I rewind to start 12,000 years ago. It is the oldest known cultivated plant in the world, back to that period of time. So it's something that has been around for a long time. It is a plant that gave us food, feed, fuel, and fiber for years until the Prohibition in the United States. I got interested in it in particular because of our being a fifth generation farmer and very interested in sustainability and the environment. I had an opportunity to take a look at what that plant offered us as farmers and as a community, what it could do for us in creating jobs and helping us lessen the impact on our environment and literally just make a better equation to what we were doing locally. And so I started becoming very active in this about 7 years ago now. And very happy to be part of a growing national movement to see hemp legalized. Thanks to many pioneers like you who blazed the trail for us today.
Well, now tell me about the hemp crop for Colorado and the hemp crop for Hawaii. Why would hemp be good for our islands?
Well, the hemp provides such a wide array of products. And as you know, as being an island nation, being as isolated as you are, you're so dependent on imports from both foreign countries as well as the domestic mainland. And when you look at this through a matrix of fuel or feed opportunities for a livestock industry that perhaps that is shrinking, you look at the opportunity for fiber, for just simply put in a general sense, Hawaii brand products. It would be hard to find a better plant that I think really embodies what Hawaii and what people believe the Hawaii brand to be than industrial hemp.
Okay. One of the things that I'm very passionate about is a product called hempcrete, and as I understand this is hemp, a portion of a plant, mixed with lime and water, and then it's turned into a building material. This is the handle. This isn't part of the hemp block, but you run your plumbing pipes up through this in the wall and your electrical wires, and then if you want to, you can be more formal and put a finish on like this so the walls look very warm and lovely. And hempcrete is something that I think could have a future in Hawaii, and maybe if you do, I'd love to hear from you.
Well, I couldn't agree more. I understand that the building products today in Hawaii are very centric on cement, and that all of the components of that product are imported. Here in Hawaii, you have bountiful lime deposits. The herds could be grown there. That is the herd from the plant mixed with the limestone and water, and so there's some very interesting characteristics to hempcrete. Not the least of which is that it is termite proof, and so in tropical environments.
Wait, let me slow you down right there. Termite proof product to build our homes.
Yes.
For Hawaii. I mean,
Yes.
We're termite heaven over here.
Yeah.
So this would be termite proof.
It would be a great option for constructors. This past August, you were gone and not able to attend, but we held a hemp conference in Kihei, or just south of Kihei, and had nearly 100 participants. And it was the weekend between the two hurricanes that were coming through, and we still had 95 people show up for the conference interested in what we were doing. At the end of the day, everybody got to build their own hemp brick. We had two fabulous young men who studied architecture and were architects in the upstate New York who have decided that the future of construction is hempcrete. So they came and participated in the conference. We got to make the bricks, and they are right now currently building a lodge in Idaho, a very large, very nice lodge. But the hempcrete, from nearly any matrix, from an environmental perspective, from the termite perspective, for what you have, the longevity, the strength, the weight, it is something that is ideally suited, not only for your island environment, but really anywhere.
I understood from someone that it actually is climate controlled, so we may reduce the need for air conditioning. Am I correct?
This is true, and it does have a kind of breathability to it, and so it helps clean the air, and helps the insulation properties on it are tremendous.
Oh, this would be wonderful.
Yeah.
Well, I know that in England they have built a giant storage facility for the not Bishop Museum, the British Museum, and they're storing antique cars, art, all sorts of different things in this, and it's built out of hempcrete. And they did that because it was climate controlled. The different displays would last that much longer, and to my mind, Bishop Museum, I hope, is going to be taking a look at that.
Well, that would be wonderful to be able to demonstrate that right here, in the museum where the John Q. public can take a look at it. And I think Britain has learned in their evolution on hemp, and Europe is far ahead of us in terms of time scale onto because it has been legal to grow and create products there for years, as has most of Europe and the rest of the world. But what a great opportunity to demonstrate. We're not really blazing anything new here. It's just new to us. It's not new to the world. And if you think about this through the economic matrix, from a farmer's perspective, right now, all of the construction dollars that go to what's being built here leave the island. They go to the source of the components of those constructors. Where here, all of those dollars could be trapped in this community, allowing the farmers this opportunity to sell what is just a single component of that plant. There's still a lot of the plant left over after the herds are extracted for this to make other products as well.
So, in other words, what we do is we benefit our local farmers, we benefit the soil because the plant itself helps to aerate and clean the soil, and then we actually grow our houses in the land right on our islands.
Yes, exactly right. And one step beyond that, Henry Ford in 1940 had envisioned an entire automotive fleet in this country that was grown from the soil and run by ethanol-based fuel from this single plant.
Wow. So he made the automobile parts, the fenders and things such out of hemp, like a hemp plaster.
It's right. It's like a hemp plastic. It was a hemp composite.
Okay.
It was a sedan that he had intended to debut in 1940. It was a four-door sedan, and literally, if there was a YouTube on it, it shows him with a sledgehammer, literally beating the car with a sledgehammer, and it bounced back.
Oh my word!
Yeah, and then he built his Iron Mountain biofuels bioproducts facility in Michigan, because he understood what this plant could do. They were producing oils for industrial lubricants. At that time, all of the paint in the United States that Sherwin-Williams sold was hemp-based paint.
Oh my word!
Yeah, and
so look at the markets out there.
Yeah,
the markets are just plentiful.
Yeah,
well, you know, when you were talking a minute ago about this would only use a part of the plant, and then I take a look at things such as this that are on the grocery shelves, and this is the nutritional side of it, using the hemp seed and the hemp oil.
The hemp seed and the hemp oil in particular is one of the best products you could consume as a human from a health perspective. It's got a perfect balance of omegas. The health aspects and attributes of that are well known again around the world. So again, just another market for the farmers as we think about deconstructing that plant, and you have the head with the seeds and the oil that comes from that finds its way into hemp-based products, and then the protein that's left over, the protein cake, is both the most digestible protein for human beings and a perfect fish food, so you could develop an aquaculture industry around the hemp product. The plant itself then has the herds can be extracted, where you could make hempcrete with the herds. You could spin the fibers out and have an entire Hawaii brand textile industry again, with very sturdy hemp. I'm wearing a hemp shirt today.
You are the borrowed hemp shirt.
The borrowed hemp shirt from your son, and then you have the biofuel opportunities beyond that to fuel your economy as well. So literally, a very large chunk of your economy, and those dollars could be trapped right here on the islands.
That's amazing. I mean, that is such an amazing crop, and to think that we wouldn't have to send so much money out of state to buy the building materials that to import here.
Exactly. It's a win-win-win for everybody.
Well, now
Yeah.
tell me what's going on nationally, because you have spent some time back in Washington, D.C. The farmer goes to D.C. to educate people there
Yeah.
about industrial hemp.
Yeah.
And what's the current?
Well, we've had an amazing.
information?
I'll go one step back. In 2012, 2 states in the United States dealt with different aspects of the cannabis world. So Colorado legalized industrial hemp along with other forms of cannabis at that year. So we started to develop our industry, industrial hemp industry at that point in time. But I knew that at that point we weren't going to solve the big problem, being able to create a national industry, until we solve the problems at the federal level. The problem is industrial hemp, even though its THC levels are nearly de minimis, is still considered a Schedule I drug on the DEA classification. How it got there, why it stayed there is
It's subject for a whole nother
it is. We could do another 30-minute show on that. But the important part of this is it's necessary to get it descheduled and get it moved out of the jurisdiction of the Drug Enforcement Administration over to USDA, where it was for years and years until it got tangled up into this web of the Controlled Substances Act under the Nixon administration. So I've been spending about half of my time in Washington over the last 2 years, specifically on this project. And I would say that if there was any one thing on Capitol Hill that has strong bipartisan support, it really is the reintroduction of hemp to America's farmers. We took the first bite a year ago under the Farm Bill, and were able to pass a research and development bill as part of the Farm Act.
And that's where our law came into place, that we passed our law here because of that National Farm Act, which established, under the purview of University of Hawaii, a hemp research project to look at phytoremediation and biofuels.
Yeah, and a great first step, and that's really what it was. That amendment to the Farm Bill wasn't even terribly controversial, with the exception of a couple of House members I'll leave unnamed on the floor of the House. There really wasn't a lot of controversy around that. It started in the House and then moved to the Senate and then became incorporated into the bill. So we had broad support from both sides of the aisle.
That's amazing, because both sides of the aisle are just pretty much fighting each other. But on this, where they're helping America's farmers and the different entrepreneurs that will move ahead with hemp products, they're working together.
Well, and I think that if you give me 5 to 10 minutes with any staffer who doesn't understand it, the story is so simple and so compelling, because there is, why we are the largest consumer market in the world for hemp products.
Really, and yet we can't grow.
Yet we're the only industrialized nation in the world that doesn't allow its farmers to grow it.
Yeah, here goes all of the money out to other countries because
everything's
can't.
Everything is a flow out.
Yeah.
So when you start talking about the disconnects and then what it can do for, from an environment, it doesn't matter whether you're someone who's concerned about the environment. An acre of growing hemp will absorb more atmospheric CO2 than an acre of standing forest.
Wow.
It is a carbon sponge. So that translate that absorption of carbon translates directly into the strength of the carbon chains in the hemp. That's why the hemp fabric and the hemp ropes, and why the strength of those ropes and the canvas over the Conestoga wagons when our ancestors came across the prairie were all very resilient because of the strength of the hemp fibers. So it's got an environmental aspect. The job creation ability of this is it's sometimes mind-numbing to think of all the things we could be doing with its legalization, how we could revitalize rural communities. I come from a very, very small rural community in eastern Colorado, and we're like tens of thousands across the mainland and here on the islands, where we have this abundance of resources. We have water, and we have land, and we have all the necessary components. We just don't have a legal framework to empower the people to take those resources and turn it into industry.
So what is Congress looking at doing in a bipartisan way?
Well, a week ago, just recently, on a Friday, just after this session of Congress, there was a bill introduced by Senator Mitch McConnell and Senator Rand Paul from Kentucky, and the 2 Oregon senators, Wyden and Merkley. It's called the Industrial Hemp Farming Act of 2015.
Okay.
And what that will do,
And that's bipartisan.
that is bipartisan. If you look at the politics of both McConnell and Paul, and Wyden and Merkley, you have the entire, and you have the spectrum of the ideological spectrum.
Okay.
With that, and so that's been filed. There will be a companion bill identical to it in the House. It has not been filed yet, but will be soon. And what it will do is it will deschedule cannabis from Schedule 1, and it will take the jurisdiction of that from DEA to USDA. And then
USDA is Department of Agriculture.
U.S. Department of Agriculture, and then they will be able to work with the states who want to. It'll be an opt-in program. This is really playing out very similar to the ending of prohibition of alcohol.
Oh.
If you remember, that didn't happen as one fell swoop from Congress. States started bringing alcohol back into their system, and at some point then Congress had to deal with it. What Congress did was made it a states' rights issue, effectively. And then that's why you see different states with different rules about alcohol and age limits. So this is playing out very similar as it were ending prohibition on hemp. It'll be an opt-in program. You'll be empowered as a state, if you want to enter into a regulatory framework for your farmers and your communities to grow it.
Okay. So that's very important for Hawaii to move ahead with that framework this session.
And particularly so this session, because the way that will work is once it's passed, it will allow anybody who already has a regulatory system in place to start growing, or you'll have to put one in place to get growing. So the opportunity for Hawaii this session is to pass, to get a regulatory framework in place, and then you'll be ready for commercial growing.
And
once
Colorado already has that framework.
We do. We put our
so
framework in place.
So we don't have to reinvent the wheel. We can take a look at that and adapt it as needed to Hawaii.
Which is exactly what the state of Nebraska is going to do right now, where they're our neighboring state, and they're much in the same position and the time frame of legalization as Hawaii. They passed a research and development bill, then they passed a commercialization bill without the regulatory framework being a part of that. This year they will put that framework in place, and they're going to look at Colorado's blueprint as to how they'll adapt that to their own state. And we'd like to share our successes with Hawaii as well, because we have 1 year under our belt, and there's a couple of tweaks that we have that were necessary, but by and large, we set up ours we want to encourage innovation and entrepreneurship. So we wanted to make sure that that the legislation we were putting before and the rules that we had to live by weren't that they weren't suffocating, that they were going to allow for people to make mistakes without mistakes being fatal.
Sure.
And so so year one went very well, and we'll make the tweaks. And year two, we're looking to have a very robust year next year.
Michael, tell me, how many acres were planted in hemp, like maybe 100 years ago or even more?
Well, in 1862, the census shows that there were 16 million acres of hemp being grown in this country.
In the United States?
In the United States in 1862.
Say that number again?
16 million acres.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah. Yeah. We were, the free press was built on hemp paper. Our Declaration of Independence is written on hemp paper. Our Navy, the strength of our Navy and the sails for the Navy were built from canvas. Canvas being the derivative of the word cannabis.
Okay.
The Conestoga wagons that settled the West were cannabis. The ropes that the military used, and really all of the uniforms that the military used for years and years and years until the invention of synthetic fabrics, were all hemp fiber.
And the flag. If you show the flag to the viewers.
I will. This flag was.
Tell us.
I'll give you the background on this. This flag started when this actually started with the amendment to the Farm Bill, and our congressman in Colorado, Jared Polis, was the sponsor of the bill, and I wanted Jared to have something in his hand to show, as he was debating this on the floor, something that really represented what this was all about. And so we had some great folks in Colorado that literally in a 48-hour time frame, Adam Dunstone and his mother and a hemp lobbyist in Colorado by the name of Samantha Walsh, I was in DC. Keep in mind, I was in DC. I made the call and said, we need a flag, and we need it really fast.
And
it
done
has
to
to be. It has to be
specifications.
regulation. Everything
Yes.
is just like it was a real flag, and they put it together. Colorado grown fiber, the
And
grommets.
it's amazingly soft. I
Yeah.
mean, it's so incredibly sturdy.
Yeah.
But yet there's just a live feeling.
And they say
to it.
they don't wear out, they wear in. And as
Yes.
clothing, it gets softer and better over time as opposed to something that wears out.
Right.
And I found that to be true. So the great story on this was the intention was for Jared to have this at the podium as he was debating, and that debate went well into the night. It was late in June, and I stayed in the House gallery to watch it. And I was leaving the House gallery, and I looked up, and the flag was still flying because the House was still in session. I thought to myself, now wouldn't this be interesting if we could fly this flag? We're coming up on July 4th, but of course at that point in time, we only had 2 or 3 days before the holiday, and knowing that the flag office would accommodate certain requests, but we were well into the time frame, so Congressman Polis went to bat for us, and we flew this flag flew the first time over the U.S. Capitol on July 4th of 2013.
That is so amazing.
Yeah.
And I thank you for bringing it out here, because the flag flew in front of the Capitol in Hawaii
It did.
on opening day.
It did.
And I
It
thank
did.
you so much for that. It was
Well-
absolutely beautiful.
Yeah. Well, we were thrilled to have the opportunity to bring it here, because what we have found with this flag, and sometimes what excites people is something very simple. This one was, when the story ran on this flag being flown over the Capitol in July that year, there was over 1,400 hits on Google. The media outlets around the world carried this story because it was so unique. Because here we have a country that prohibits the growing of industrial hemp, yet we had a flag flying over the Capitol. So it was a very simple statement, but something that started the again, kind of helped. It's all about kind of changing minds and hearts, right? And so this was something where you can start a conversation, then you can figure out how to change that mind and heart. So then I decided it would be a great idea if we could then start moving this from capital to capital as each state was either introducing legislation or they wanted to celebrate a previous passage, or they were trying to build support for an upcoming bill. I found that this flag has been a great catalyst to create those conversations.
That's wonderful.
We've been in Vermont on Constitution Day. They were celebrating passage of their bill with that. We had it recently in Nebraska, where they were trying to build support for the upcoming legislation that ultimately passed, and we have it here. So it's just been a great symbol. Our goal is to fly it over all 50 states at some point, and then I don't know where we'll hang it from there. But
Well, my feeling is that America should go back to having our American flags made out of hemp,
I would
grown in America.
I would agree.
Yeah.
Yeah, I would
I
agree.
mean, it's
Yeah.
long overdue.
Yeah.
Betsy Ross sewed, I believe, the American flag
She did.
out of hemp fabric.
Yes, it would have looked identical to this, and as you noticed yesterday, hemp absorbs dyes a little differently than synthetics, so the
Right.
colors aren't vibrant and bright.
They aren't fake.
No, they're
They're
not
not
fake.
fake.
They're real.
Yes.
And so this flag would have looked very similar, with the exception of the number of stars. Would have had the same look and feel as what Betsy would have sewn years ago.
Oh, this is amazing.
yeah.
And it just was so outstanding when
Yeah.
it was blowing in the wind
Yeah.
in front of the Capitol,
Yeah.
and I thought, this is what should be the case in every state.
Yeah. Yeah.
Well, so we have a way to go. It's the bill, there will be legislation this session that is moving, and it's to create that framework that you're talking about, because without that framework, we're behind right from the beginning.
You are, and the irony of being behind is here you have an island that probably, if you quantified the opportunities and what you could do to where you have an economy where all your money is flowing out because everything's imported, and you look at being able to trap those dollars, Hawaii is probably maybe one of the top places of all 50 states that could have the dramatic benefits of having a vibrant hemp sector.
Well,
here on
and the
islands.
other thing is we've lost so much sugar in our islands, and that was a struggle, and many of the sugar plantations shut down. If we had been able to grow hemp and put that in as a replacement crop, it would have been wonderful, and it would have saved ag jobs, and it would have saved ag land for agricultural
Well, most
purposes.
definitely would have. And you think about not only as you said, the jobs, but the impact of the local environment. Hemp just does an incredible job of remediating soil
Right.
where there isn't that need to remediate, and it makes a great rotation crop. And there's an old saying on the mainland where we live. I live out on the windy eastern plains, where they say, "What's the two best times to plant a tree?" Well, that's 20 years ago, and today. This is the best time to have had legislation to grow hemp would have been 20 years ago.
But it's today.
But it's today.
Oh, very true. And I believe that I think that the people in the legislature in Hawaii certainly know the benefit of this
Yeah.
crop and are very open to it and ready to move ahead. We've had many times unanimous support for different measures, one of which went back to Congress and said, take this out from under the Controlled Substances Act.
Yeah.
It's not a drug.
Yeah.
It doesn't
No.
belong there.
No, it
Let
doesn't.
farmers grow. Let us process it into hempcrete.
Yeah.
Let's build our houses from the ground up
I call
and
it
keep the termites
out.
out.
Well, from the farm perspective or the farm gate, it's food, feed, fuel, and fiber. It is the 4 Fs.
Okay.
It really does. There's a component. Every component of that plant provides something to one of the Fs.
And then I was told there are something like 25,000 products or uses
Yes,
for the crop.
there is. There's some great products, as we've said. We've talked about industrial lubricants to hemp composites to food.
And a bike
Fiber.
chain lubricant. That was
Yes.
amazing to me. It doesn't get all glunked up.
Yeah. No, it really is I tend to be one that doesn't like to overhype things. It's hard not to overhype this plant.
Very true. Very true.
It's hard not to. Yeah.
Well, we need you back here as the hearings progress, so you can come and give your farmers' expertise from Colorado. And I thank you so much, Michael Bowman, for coming out to Hawaii, for lending us the hemp American flag, and being a part of this wonderful movement.
I am thrilled and honored to be here, and you are just a treasure.
Oh.
Rep. Thielen, you have been out here talking about and fighting this battle for many, many years, and there's a very small group of you that have done that, and you've really you've helped open blaze the trail, and we're so thankful for all the work you've done, and you're continuing to work on this.
Thank you.
Yeah,
Well, I
you're
think
welcome.
we're going to make it.
Okay, we are.
Thank you, Michael,
You're
for
welcome.
being here.
You're welcome.
Aloha to all of you, and I hope you've learned about hemp and its benefits for Hawaii. Aloha.